Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Sobriety Life with me, Richie Crook, and I'm joining you from somewhere in the middle of Spain. I've been on the road for about 5 hours since the port on a ferry journey from Tenerife to just south of Seville in a place called Cadiz, Haluva, I think they pronounce it. And I thought I'd better check in. That ferry journey was 2.5 days. I had to sleep on the deck of the ship on a sun lounger and a sleeping bag, so it was relatively comfortable, to be perfectly honest. I quite enjoyed it, just staring there, looking at the stars. And 2.5 days of sobriety on the ship, and yeah, a successful trip to Tenerife where I didn't have any cravings. Well, tell a lie, I'm probably had a couple of triggers and a couple of cravings to when, if I was in that frame of mind, I could have quite easily had an alcoholic drink, you know, when it's 36 degrees, everyone around you is outside drinking alcohol, overlooking the sea, and that was a kind of vibe. But I managed to use the tools that I've learned over the years to sort of pull my mindset away from any triggers or any sort of temptations just to go and join these people, because number one, I thought, look at the consequences, what happens when you do venture into that kind of world, and look how bad you feel, and the damage, the carnage, the fear, the pain and the anguish. So I managed to sort of use them tools to sort of pull myself back in line. But anyway, episode 12 is going to be on binge drinking today. I'm not going to go on too long because it's extremely hot here, and it's around the late 30s, 37 degrees. And like I said, I ain't got a clue where I am, so I'm just getting in the van and driving straight towards Cherbourg in France. So just a reminder, I'm not an expert. What I say and what I say in this podcast is just my experiences. I'm not affiliated to any government programs or any kind of rehabilitation schemes. It's just my experiences. So forgive me, you may get a lorry going past in a minute. That's just part and parcel of doing things live. So okay, so episode 12, binge drinking. I think we're all sort of pretty much guilty of binge drinking. I certainly was. That was one of my sort of traits really, of in the early days. It would be no drinks during the week or during the school week, or school days as we call it, and then it would just be one big blowout for a whole weekend, where in the latter stages it lasted until the following week, and then eventually every day. So it's binge drinking. So I've got a few facts on binge drinking as well. Yeah, so binge drinking. I've got a few facts for you. Sorry, I've just returned after my phone fell out of the van and smashed. So that was a good start to this afternoon. But anyway, yeah. What is binge drinking? Well, the definition of a typical adult: this constitutes 5 or more drinks in 1 to 2 hour sort of sitting. So if you have 5 or more drinks over a course of 1 to 2 hours, that is classed as binge drinking, which I'm pretty certain that most people who go out of the weekend or in one particular sitting could drink 5 drinks in probably 1 hour quite comfortably. So they're classing that as binge drinking. And to be perfectly honest, binge drinking is something that I got caught up in. A lot of my friends get caught up in. I think everyone's guilty of binge drinking. It's just when you actually choose to stop that particular binge. For instance, you do see a lot of people, it used to be me, a lot of people outside pubs swaying from side to side. Eventually they could get aggressive, they can get, completely different person to what they are, like a Jekyll and Hyde. They could be quite placid when they start drinking, and by the end of the day, or by the end of the evening, or daytime, whatever, they could be quite aggressive. So it's out of body, sort of. They're not the same person, which it happened to me a lot, to be perfectly honest. I was sort of a Jekyll and Hyde. I was quite a relatively quiet person, normally quite happy-go-lucky, when I was younger, but then as soon as I binge drink or binge drunk, got to a point where I was completely antisocial, and yeah, I caused a lot of antisocial behaviour through it. So, but the binge drinking is something that is very, very dangerous. I don't think I need to tell you that, because it's sort of the amount of alcohol you consume during one of these binges, sorry, it can actually damage the brain cells. So it's just a fact. There's a fact that 40% of the British population are actually classed as binge drinkers. That's 40%, which I think is quite high. You know, but that could well be that a certain person doesn't touch a drop of drink during the week, and then suddenly has a big binge on a Friday evening, and that unfortunately can actually damage the brain cells even more than if you was a regular drinker, like a functioning alcoholic or someone of that nature. Because it's just such a sort of intake of alcohol and ethanol, and there's a big sort of a release of glutamine, which then attacks the brain cells and then causes irreversible, sorry, I'm terrible with bad words, but it causes irreversible damage to the brain cells, which sometimes, if you've had a heavy session drinking, like a binge, the day after you can't remember things. We've all been in that position where what did I do last night? And then for days after, you know, you can't think straight, you can't operate properly, you're functioning on sort of half the cylinders, and you got brain fog, and that is due to the glutamine release attacking the brain cells, which is, you know, it's irreversible in the end. And if you're constantly having binges, it will eventually really damage. I mean, you see someone like Paul Gascoigne, I know he's just had a stroke, one of my heroes when I was growing up, but you see him now, this slur in his speech, and not being able to, you know, he can't stand in front of a camera without sort of, you know, welling up or shying up, or he's not very approachable because he's damaged himself so badly with binge drinking. And that was what sort of had Gaz over, his binge drinking and sort of wild antics. Same with George Best. In the end, George Best was drinking 6 or 7 bottles of wine a day through the day, just to sort of stop the pangs and stop the anxiety coming, and stop the attacks of sort of withdrawal. So it's a sorry state to get into, but you know, that is really what binge drinking is, and it is very, very dangerous. I don't need to tell you that. I think we all sort of look at ourselves and think, oh, I need to cut back a bit, or do I fall into the binge drinking category? And I think most of us do, really. Especially, I mean, on holidays, and we're you know, the first 3 days of a holiday is binge really. Then you sort of cut back a bit and sort of taper it down slightly. But yeah, it's very dangerous. I mean, I'm not there preaching, it's just I'm just touching on the subject, and it sort of amazes me that they call it 5 drinks within a 2-hour period for men, and 4 drinks within a 2-hour period for women, to be classed as a binge. Now, I'm pretty certain that a lot of us lads would probably get up to about 7 or 8 drinks within 2 hours, if not more, if the football was on or we were going away with the lads. So yeah, just something to look out for. Binge drinking it is dangerous. I don't want to go into the scientific facts of it all, because that just bore you and you'll switch off, which a lot of you probably have by now already. But I certainly fell into the category of binge drinking, and it's just something you need to keep an eye on. And again, if anybody is struggling with anything at all related to alcohol, anxiety, withdrawals, need someone to talk to, need someone to be pointing in the right direction towards help, then just drop me a line on Sobriety Life, support@sobrietylife.org. You've got the WhatsApp number now, so feel free to WhatsApp me. And obviously I'm getting a lot of feedback on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. I lose count, to be honest with you, but it occupies my time in the evening times, where I'd normally be sort of, you know, back along, I'd, you know, be occupying my time by drinking alcohol. And that's something that now I found I've got a lot more time on my hands. You have a few more quid in the pocket, that's for sure. And also I'm trying different things like The Spanish is going pretty well now, so I'm doing the Duolingo on the Spanish. That's something I never would have done if I was under the influence, because number one, I couldn't see the screen, and number two, it wouldn't have crossed my mind. The only thing crossing my mind was where the next drink was coming from. So, you know, these things you can do in sobriety. It's all out there for you. You know, it certainly is for me. It's an eye-opener for me, because the reason why I'm doing these podcasts is just to give people the other side of, you know, the drinking culture, where, as everybody knows by now, I was firmly indented in the drinking culture for 30 odd years, and it was, well, while it lasted and while I could handle it, it was great. But when you get to a certain vintage, as we should call it, as lads and ladies at my sort of age, you start thinking about things, and sometimes you need a change in life and a change of direction, which is something that I've done. And sorry, I've just been attacked by a wasp. And the change of direction, you know, albeit it seemed very, very scary at the start, I'm now teaching myself new things and sort of training my thought process in a different direction, which, you know, I'm not saying it's all a bed of roses. You get out of it what you put in, and at the moment I put a lot of work into it, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of helping guys or girls who write in and ask for some direction or some help. Normally it's direction. They just want to know, you know, a certain Mr. 1 or Mr. 2 is drinking a certain amount. How can I help with a plan in place for them to sort of moderate or stop? And I hope I'm being able to help people that way, because that's my main aim. And, you know, I've had a lot of years of experience of it, and I'm still one of the lads, and I don't go out as frequently because I'm still in the sort of process of training my mindset, and then but you need to socialize still, and if I can help anyone, then I've done my job. So yeah, just bear in mind, binge drinking, very dangerous, and it's just a matter of fact of, you know, looking at the consequence, what it can do to your body, or making sure you are actually in control when you're having the binge drink, because this is when girls, especially girls, can become vulnerable to, we all know what they can become vulnerable to. They lose their guard, same as men lose their guard, and then they can go either way, where a girl can be vulnerable, a man can be vulnerable to lose his sort of mindset. So sorry about the van in the background. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you got something out of it. If you do want other facts on binge drinking, then please feel free to drop me a text on my WhatsApp, or just stick something on TikTok, or wherever you want to get hold of me. I'll always be somewhere around the world somewhere. I'm off to France now, and then off to Corfu on Friday. So I'll be posting from there, and I will see you all soon. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.